David Oliver, and he's going to be speaking about financing climate progress with technology-driven offsets, achieving Paris Agreement objectives. David is a world-renowned expert in the carbon market with over 20 years of experience spanning 4 continents. He has held multiple leadership roles across the carbon market value chain, including as the head of carbon at DevStream, head of program development at Marmota, CEO and co-founder of Greenlines Technology, and president of Suomi Advisory Group. David is also the author of the influential report, Carbon Markets in British Columbia, commissioned by the Vancouver Economic Commission. With his strategic guidance, he has helped public and private organizations worldwide capitalize on environmental assets, revolutionizing the industry. David.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I'll try to keep it light here because it's like 4:30, past 4:30, so it's been a long day. So I just wanted to give you some good news. I think we can do this. And so I wanted to show you some examples of what I think, and we, as a company, we think we can really go fast into decarbonizing the economies. So carbon streaming is a DevStream is a carbon streaming company. We are publicly listed on the New York Exchange. Our CEO is sitting there, Sunny Treen, if you want to ask more questions later on to myself or Sunny. Just let me see if this thing works. Yeah, so DevStream works across multiple key elements that we have here in the screen. But basically, we focus on technology-based projects. And technology means a lot of things to a lot of people. So what for us means data. If we don't have data, we can't prove it. So if we can prove it, we should not be doing credits. We should not be selling those credits. So unreliable, lack of data or fuzzy data, as I always call it. We should not, or we don't work on these spaces. So obviously transparency, the technology allows us to scale those projects quickly and have a big impact quickly. Data intensive, I already talked about that, and transformative. We see credits as a transformative tool from here to there. One day there will be no carbon markets, and that is going to be a good day, actually. But so far we need those credits to accelerate the trend. That's why we're here. And the last but not least is we work on projects that have an immediate effect. We don't work on this long-term, 20 years from now or 10 years from now. We focus on today, impact quick, because we need to do that. We see this every day. Capitalism has always been in a collision course with sustainability. Like if it was cheaper to pollute than not pollute. It's cheaper to do like high carbon products and services than low carbon products and services. So we're trying to do this is the opposite. It's trying to align those two interests and make them work towards the same direction. That's what DevStream is doing today. So we've worked across 3 main themes here: capital, technology, and environment. Obviously, environment is the reason why we're doing what we do. Technology is how, but the underlying thing is capital. If we don't provide the capital to accelerate those 2 things, we're not going to be, helping the environment. So that's what we're doing here. On the technology side, I should mention we work and we developed every project we do. We upload the data on a blockchain to increase the transparency, because this is a very important aspect that, confidence in the market, transparency, and trust. And I'm sure pretty much everyone has seen this graph. It's McKinsey's report, came out a while ago. But this is our path to net zero by 2050. This is according to renowned experts, not me. But you see the trend, the green yellow line here. This is business as usual. Anything below, we need to go down. So we need to reduce. We can't move. But we need to go down from that green line all the way to those bars, right? What you see at the bottom is removals. So we need to reduce 23 gigatons by 2030 and about 2 by 2030 as well, removals. By 2050, that's 25 gigatons. I think it is, I did the math right. And 30 gigatons and 5 gigatons for removals. So that's science. If we trust the science, this is the picture. For us, we translate the other way around. Okay, this is reductions. That's removals. Good. Now we know where we are. Let's focus on the 2030 target. If we look at those numbers, the bottom half pretty much is about what the governments can do. They can regulate, They can force, operational efficiencies on businesses. They can impose carbon taxes. And those are the numbers that a lot of experts kind of agree that those are the targets. Compliance markets will cover a big chunk of that reduction, about 9 gigatons by 2030. Still, we have like over 3 gigatons of removals that need to be covered by voluntary markets. That's a huge, absolute gigantic number. Guys, we all need to pull in the same direction. There's no way a single company or even 100 companies can achieve this by themselves. So we need all of us and more to do that. We're not talking about removals, by the way. So a lot of people work in the removal space. We still need to do that. And by the way, anything removals do helps the reduction, of course. But we're not doing a great job. It's an industry. I mean, the headlines keep coming every week. Come on, guys. That report, the 85% of the offset failed to reduce emissions by the European Union. It's hard to debate that, right? So, well, let's work on the solution. This is according to the American University. Nature solutions are not enough. We need to do more than that. So, we did the math here. The current average offset project size is about 500,000 tons. That's worldwide average. So if we were to achieve those targets that you saw on the slide before, we would need 65,000 offset projects today, but by 2030, excuse me. Do you know how many there are in the world? Any guess? A bit more. I mean, but total offset projects worldwide, less than 2,000. It's sad. We still need to go 65,000 with the same average size, right? So it's a gigantic scale up, right? So we need technology to come to help, right? That's why we focus on that. The problem is the capital needs clarity, and Wall Street needs clear rules and directions, right? And we've not been doing a good job. We create this maze that everybody gets lost, except maybe some people in this room, but most people out there. I talked to my wife and she's like, what are you doing? I mean, seriously, this is very, very complicated. My mom, don't even try. Come on. I mean, seriously, guys, there's like 15 different standards worldwide or more. I lost count. So we need to make sure we provide clarity, transparency, especially for the Wall Street guys. They need, a ground laid out very solidly for them to play out the rules, right? But very important piece is we need to also cater to the environmentalists, the people that's actually here to do the right thing. And there's many people like this in our space and outside. But to me, carbon credits are just a transformative tool. We need to get from here to there. Once we get there, no more credits. Sorry, guys, there's no one going to give me more, Wall Street green summits. Hopefully, one day. We don't need that. Sorry, Peter. Somewhere in there. But anyways, the point is, I think you're getting the point here, right? So let's look at the whole picture, where the emissions are coming from. This is global data, not just US. So obviously industry is a big one. The transportation, no surprises, buildings, fuels, fugitives of emissions, livestock, and you heard about people dealing with some of these sectors. But if you look at the 2030 target, we need to reduce 23 gigatons. That needs to come from there. So 24%, 16%. Okay, we need to address each one of these. We can't just, try to start planting trees worldwide and ship cookstuffs. That's not going to work, right? We need to do basically something about industry, whether it's on the production of energy or the consumption, the demand side. So let's work on, a few examples. I only have 5, by the way. Industry in the US produces about 1 billion tons of CO2 emissions every year. That's a lot, but there's really technologies and solutions today with a lot of engineers out there working on this to actually decarbonize this industry. The industry could go down by 20% by implementing simply energy efficiency solutions across the industry. That's technology that, I think we had Schneider Electric here. These guys know inside out how to do that. We just need capital to implement those. So the carbon credits can help bridge that gap. 29% by switching to renewables. That's pretty obvious, right? But things like, using recycled aluminum, the carbon footprint of that process, that product goes down 95%. Huge, just by recycling aluminum. So the aluminum, by the way, is a massive producer of emissions. So this is industry. Let's look at another example, buildings. I did the math for this building. It's actually producing about 2 million pounds of CO2 emissions per year. It's 14 stories, 4,000 square feet per floor. That's a lot. So just by switching to LED lighting, they could reduce that footprint. The average carbon emissions of the US commercial space is 66 pounds of CO2 emissions per square feet. That's a huge number. There's many countries that are lower than that number. So if we go down by, let's say, 20% of that number, that's going to be an immediate impact on the environment. And we can generate credits from it, by the way. The whole built environment produces about 50% of global emissions. So it's a gigantic target that we need to fix. So we obviously DevStream is working on that. And I think, I don't know if somebody knows it, but this quote, when I saw this stat, was shocking to me, that we're building this equivalent of a city of the size of New York City. It's being added every month for the next 40 years. From 2040 to 2060, we're adding the size of the city of New York every month, not every year, every month. So we need to get that number down to at least a third to have any chance of actually keep meeting our targets. All right, another one, transportation. So in the US, we produce 1.8 billion tons of ground transportation only. So tons of ideas and obviously simple things that we could do. Actually, RD, renewable diesel, reduces 90% of emissions, right? Without changing the performance of the engines. We don't need to change the fleets. So we could do that. Routine optimizations, use software, implement software on fleets. That would be a massive impact on reductions. Low rolling resistance tires. There's tons of companies actually working on that. The biggest manufacturers in the world. Or infrastructure improvements. This is something that a lot of governments now are starting to pay attention. It's like if you change and you implement a roundabout, you reduce the emissions of that intersection. It's a simple change in the infrastructure, but reduces a massive impact for the next, obviously, 50 plus years. So these are just examples, not talking about fuel efficiency or changing to electric vehicles, which are the obvious that everyone talks about. Couple of more examples. I think I only have 2 more. We've been talking about plugging oil wells. There you go. So obviously, absolutely gigantic opportunity for doing the right thing and obviously producing credits. So we focus on the super emitters, or those that produce more than 100 tons of methane per year. These are like a lot of emissions per year. But these guys don't even produce just an environmental impact, but there's social impacts. I don't know how many people how many kids do you think live within a quarter mile of an abandoned oil well in California? Give me a number. Children in schools and daycares within a quarter mile. 250,000 kids living next to one of these. It's horrific. We need to do something about this. So if credits can help, absolutely, why not? Cement industry, again, absolutely gigantic opportunity here. 0.82 tons of emissions per ton of cement produced. There's 8,040 tons of cement produced per minute globally in 2020. 8,000, and each one of those is 0.882. If we were to produce or implement these 4 things, that a 0.82 would go down to 0.26. Think about the impact on the environment. And this can be achieved within, let's say, a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, not 25, not 30 years. So these are just immediate actions we can actually take. And this is what DevStream is focusing on. So our point I want to just walk away here is like, we talk about a lot of ideas, a lot of science that we could develop, and a lot of good things that we could do. These are existing things that a lot of companies have expertise on. We don't need to invent the value chain. We need to create the value chain. All of these people exist out there. We just need to put the capital behind them. So please join us. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Questions? How do you as a company monetize this? I graduated the Master's of Architecture in 1989. I saw Amory Lovin speak at the AI headquarters. And he said, stop building. Don't build another thing. Go change everyone's light bulbs and Xerox machines, and you'll make more money and do better for the planet than being an architect. So how does your company change light bulbs or do these development projects?
Yeah. So DevStream works in 2 capacities. We ideally finance projects. that third party would implement, like could be anybody on any of these spaces. In many cases, people don't have the expertise to develop the offset project. They know how to change the light bulbs, of course, but they don't know how to go about developing the offset project. So we take the role of developing the project ourselves. As much as we can. We make usually an upfront investment on the credits in exchange for the credits, excuse me. Yes.
Other questions? Yes.
It's the old academic debate. I mean, it's true, we can do all of that, but is it best to do it through voluntary carbon markets, carbon pricing, regulation? I mean, and how do you pick which sector is best?
That's up for the governments to decide which one they should regulate. And I encourage, I actually discuss with governments all the time about regulating and pricing carbon. I come from Canada. We have one of the highest carbon tax in the world. It's going all the way to $130 per ton, sorry, $170 Canadian, which is like 25 cents US by 2030. Close. But yeah, to your point, yes, the government should regulate carbon markets. Compliance carbon markets should play a role, and carbon markets, compliance carbon markets exist in many jurisdictions, but there's still like a big chunk that's not regulated. So those are the voluntary ones.
Other questions? I have one for you. So you said at one point in there that one of the issues was just the flow of capital.
Yep.
So why is capital not flowing faster? What are the hurdles? I mean, we talk about the technology that we have to solve, but what do we need to do in order to get the capital to move faster?
So we will have Wall Street next door, right? So we talk to them and they say, we want transparency, we want clarity, we want ROI, we want a business here. We don't want an NGO, right? That's what we do. We provide a business to them. If we can't demonstrate a return of investment that's attractive for Wall Street, they're going to take the money and go somewhere else. So we have to compete against other, let's call it investments. So we provide all the tools and transparency and confidence that they can invest in these projects.
And when you talk to Wall Street about that, are there businesses that you notice there's a distinction in the reaction to? Does Wall Street have an appetite right now for different businesses than you see it wanting to have an appetite for?
I think there's a across the board. I don't see, maybe Sonny just came back from a bunch of meetings with Wall Street, but point being is, we see across the board interest on technology-based projects because the risk level, it doesn't mean that we don't work on nature-based solutions and all the other agricultural projects, for example. There's a higher risk of uncertainty, like so complicated, difficult to understand, risky business. So we see a risk spectrum. So some people are more willing to take that risk. Some people are more willing to not take the risk.
And a last question for everybody to yeah, please.
And so us together, we collectively can do the education world, how important this is. It's going to be a positive impact for everybody. And that's one of the reasons why Wall Street has to put more money is because of lack of understanding. One thing they realize that it is very lucrative, but it's also beneficial for the world. There's a ton of money going there. Because what I'm seeing is there's a lot of funds out there that need to be type project investment, and they don't know where to go. So as we're going, they can start putting that's all.
So that's exactly where I was going to go. So for everybody in this room who's been listening all day, it's a nice note to nearly end on. What should everybody in this room do differently tomorrow based on what you're seeing in the discussions?
Be as transparent as possible. I think being transparent brings a lot of trust. We try to be as transparent as we can with everything we do, not just on the technical side, data collection, reporting, all of that stuff, but also on the deals. You know, there's a lot of brokers out there that would take a vast majority of the deal from the hands of the people actually doing the work on the ground. That's just wrong. I mean, come on, guys. We need to be a fair share of the revenue of credits, and it needs to be a transparent communication to the markets that this is a real business. We're not trying to hide things. We're a public company. We're making sure that everybody understands there's clear rules, and those rules are set out there for everybody to understand. So if anything, please go out there and share what you do with people. Share how you do it, how much you take sincerely. There's got to be a business, of course, but that's what we're trying to do and try to educate everyone around us as well. So
Great. Thank you, David.
absolutely. Thank you.